In this module, we're going to take a look at something called the built environment, and this really speaks to that concept of settings-based health promotion, where the setting that we create, not that's naturally there, can have an impact on several different aspects of health behavior. So what is the built environment? The term built environment is exactly what it sounds like. It is their parts of the environments that are designed and built by humans. And the idea here is that this built environment, let it be roads and highways or parks, bike paths, these kind of things, they create environments in which human activity occurs or doesn't occur. And if we plan our cities and we plan our towns and we plan our environments and our schools and our communities in an intelligent kind of health promoting way, that can potentially have a huge effect on how active people are and obviously the health measures that go along with that as well. Okay, so to guide our discussion on the built environment, we are going to spend most of our time looking at BC's Healthy Built Environments Toolkit. So this is a toolkit for organizations that are trying to, let's say, build things and they want to do so in a healthy way. So this toolkit really divides healthy built environments into 5 different components. Okay, so we're going to look at transportation networks, neighborhood design, housing, food systems, and natural environments, and how humans can contribute to making these healthier in nature. Okay, so like it says here, this toolkit is a quick reference to the body of research evidence which describes how our built environment can influence population health. Okay, so not only does it talk about what we should do, but what kind of evidence-based specifics can really help us in our environmental planning. Okay, so this is kind of the framework of that toolkit, and like I said, this just kind of comes off of these 5 areas here. It just organizes it a little bit more specifically, and each of these different modules we are going to look at one of these different components. Okay, so right now we are going to start with neighborhood design. Okay, and we're going to talk a little bit about how designing a neighborhood intelligently can help promote health. So what do I mean by neighborhood design? I'm going to give you some more specifics of this, but some of the advice that they give is creating complete neighborhoods through mixed land use. So what does mixed land use mean? I'll come back to this slide in a second, but this is an example of mixed land use. It means creating urban environments, typically we're talking about urban environments, that have both residential and commercial spaces kind of intermixed. So Commercial Drive is a good example of this, Gastown is a good example of this, Lower Lonsdale is a good example of this as well. You often have like condos up top and then you have a bunch of different businesses below. And this is really a city influenced framework because cities have to zone certain areas in order for this to be possible. So areas are zoned for like commercial or residential, but sometimes they can be zoned for both. And if they're zoned for both, that means that you're going to have people living where they shop. And the idea here is that they are going to be moving around those communities more instead of driving to places. So I used to live in Lower Lonsdale myself, and it was like not intelligent to drive anywhere. It was quicker to walk to places. And I actually moved to that environment because I wanted to be able to walk to the C-bus, walk to my nail salon, walk to the grocery store. And that again promotes physical activity in turn. Okay, so other aspects of neighborhood design is about neighborhood planning, like building compact neighborhoods and having these neighborhoods be really well connected so it's easy to get around. You know, if you have a neighborhood, some neighborhoods are like sectioned off, whereas like, you know, they're right beside each other, but you have to like go around to get to the next neighborhood. And that again increases the likelihood that people are going to take non-active modes of transport to get around, okay? So an example of these compact neighborhoods is this plan by the Squamish Nation to build this highly connected, highly compact community around where the Burrard Bridge is. And, you know, there's actually quite a few aspects of healthy built environment here. We see natural environments being included in their plans as well. So these are plans, this hasn't been built yet, but they're really compacting these neighborhoods by building up and creating lots of connectivity. You can't really see it on here, between these different neighborhoods too. And if you go downtown in Vancouver, you go to Gastown, you go to, again, Commercial Drive, it's like easy to get around. Okay, and a lot of people are living in that area, which means that there's less need for a car to get around, okay, which means more active transport, and it means a better environmental footprint too, okay? So in this document that we're looking at for this unit, at the end of each kind of section, they have some of the research links between some of their suggestions and various population health outcomes. So you'll notice a general theme that when we build environments in a healthy way, it increases walking, it increases cycling, and we know that more physical activity also has an impact on things like cardiovascular mortality and respiratory health, and also in turn, it also increases, a lot of these measures increase social well-being because we're having more people kind of connected within a community, or we're having more green spaces, which we know can promote healthy mental health as well. Okay, so my point here is that they're not just being like, yeah, build the community this way. There's been lots of research on the built environment, and we're going to look at some specifics in the next module on how doing certain interventions affects things like physical activity patterns. Okay, so like I said, the document goes over some really specifics on planning the built environment. You'll notice that they talk about designing compact neighborhoods. They talk about density. There's a lot of focus on density. Now, here's the problem, though, is that a lot of people are not for density. A lot of people say, yeah, density is great, but they may say something like, not in my backyard. Okay, so yeah, it's great that you have a lot of community gardens, and yeah, it's great that you have a lot of density and transportation and bus routes and all this stuff, but I don't want that where I live. I don't want homeless shelters where I live. I don't want community housing where I live. And this NIMBY Voice, as it's known, is kind of pretty powerful because they'll go to local government, they'll go to like community meetings, and they'll say, I don't want this proposed design project. I don't want this compact neighborhood because I want my environment to stay exactly the same. So not in my backyard, this is a movement that really kind of negatively affects an urban planner's ability to do things. You know, and granted, these people have a voice and they want their community to be a certain way, and we should consider it. But I think I want to bring this up because it shows that, you know, there's competing voices when it comes to designing a community and designing a city. You know, a good example here is when you talk about cycle paths. You know, there's a lot of controversy both in Vancouver and in Toronto when they try to put in more cycle paths because the drivers don't like that. You know, they're like, yeah, okay, but you're taking away a lane of road, and now, you know, it takes me twice as long to get to places. So it's a fine kind of balance being an urban planner or focusing on the built environment, because you really, like we keep talking about in this class, need a lot of political capital and community engagement to get projects done. Okay, so if we slow down developments, we get public support in the first place, we make sure that we consider different voices, not just the loud minority, we can still get projects approved, but we have to realize that this voice is there as well. Luckily, with the Squamish project, it's their land. You know, it's not Crown land, it's First Nations land. So they don't have to get approval by council or anyone else. They can do whatever they want. This has really made their planning process, their development process, a lot more seamless because they just have to get buy-in from the own members of the First Nations that are involved in this. So in the next unit, we are going to continue looking at some different aspects of the built environment and some specifics on how to design communities effectively.